Welcome to the show, everybody. You are listening to Beyond Reason Radio here at BeyondReasonRadio.com, streaming live at BeyondReasonRadio.com, and also streaming live on the Beyond Reason Radio app. Merry Christmas, everybody. That's coming up later this week. Apparently, executive producer Michael Formasano did not go Christmas shopping yet.
Shh, don't let them know. What if
I've been
listening?
told by some that you're not a real man unless you go on Christmas Eve.
Unless you go on Christmas Eve. Yeah. That's how it should be.
So apparently I'm not. I got mine done Saturday. So apparently I'm not a real man.
Everyone knows you wait until all the good stuff is gone.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Also joining us today, by the way, I'm your host, Michael Yaffee. I probably should introduce myself. But, I mean, everybody knows. Everyone's like, Yaffee. We know Yaffee.
Yeah, we know Yaffee.
Exactly. We're also joined by Tyler today, who is here as well, who joins us every now and then.
All the time soon.
All the time soon.
After she says that after she's getting ready to take a 6-week vacation?
2-week vacation. Don't go crazy.
6
It's the
weeks.
holidays.
Well,
Not coming back till February.
February.
Or January 4th.
Okay.
Crazy.
Enough of that. Whatever's going on over there in the control area. Actually, this will be the last show of the year of Beyond Reason Radio. This will be the last show because Friday is Christmas, and the next Friday is New Year's Day. So, but I will be hosting Bud. Well, it's not called Bud Hettinger Live anymore. I will be hosting Good Morning Orlando on News Radio 102.5 WFLA all of next week. So if you have iHeartRadio, which a lot of you listen to the podcast of the show, you can listen to me live, stream Good Morning Orlando. Just search News Radio 102.5 WFLA. Okay, so there was an interview today that I'm going to be playing with Obama. Obama was on NPR. And he talked about some things that are really, I think, really important. But first, making sure you're all ready. Last night, I finally saw it. I finally saw Star Wars. Yes. And because I saw it last night, I went to the 12 a.m. showing because I don't like crowds. So I went to when there was the least amount of people there. And
Which
it
makes total sense.
Exactly. Of course it does. This is the voice of reason.
Yeah.
The voice of sense. So go to really late showings if you don't want crowds. I didn't work the show this morning, so I got to sleep in. But now, because I saw Star Wars, I have been inspired. I have been inspired because I think Star Wars can teach us a lesson today.
Oh.
Yes, teach us a lesson about politics, about our culture, about Obama, and about Donald Trump. So we're going to get to that in a little bit.
Even Trump?
Yes, even Trump, believe
Is
it or
Trump
not.
the emperor?
No. I don't think so. Trump, I don't know what he would be.
Why? Because he's going to lose the election?
Yeah, probably. I don't know what Trump would be. Maybe one of the side bad guys, off to the side a little bit. Or Jar Jar Binks, maybe.
But we're agreeing villain.
Yeah, of course Jar Jar Binks was a good guy. But, yeah. Anyways, we're going to get to that. I'm going to get to what Star Wars can teach us in the world. Because, let's face it, that's what you're all thinking about this week. You're not thinking about politics. You're thinking about Star Wars. And you're thinking about the Miss Universe pageant. Yes. Thinking about that. But you're also thinking about the Miss Universe pageant where Steve Harvey said the wrong name. And apparently it's the biggest deal on the planet. Even though the runner-up who thought she won, didn't win. Because of the whole controversy, she'll probably get a lot more attention than she would have if Steve Harvey just got it right. But apparently Steve Harvey needs to be sent straight to the guillotine, I guess. We need to get him out. It needs to be a mob with pitchforks and torches. And, I mean, it's just
he would
unbelievable.
Never make that mistake again.
This is true.
Not because
he apologized. He had to apologize on Twitter and everything. It's kind of amazing what is trending out in the world today. But I happened to stumble upon this today. And it was President Obama, and he had an interview with NPR. And there's a lot of things he addresses, and I'm going to get deep into some of this stuff because it gets into the issue of our divisiveness in politics, our divisiveness in the country, and the future of our country. And one thing he is asked, which I'm going to have Mike play in a sec though, he was asked about this whole debate on what we are. Obama always says, that's not who we are. Who is America? Who is the American people? What are the American people? What is this country supposed to be? What is it supposed to look like? It seems like this debate is really catching hold and really dividing us and making, there's a lot of anger out there because of this issue of who we are. And Trump is definitely using this issue as well, which Obama will address in this interview. But Obama was asked about this debate, what he thinks about this whole argument of who we are. What are the American people supposed to be? This is what he said.
So I don't think there's anything new about it. I do think that the country is inexorably changing. I believe in all kinds of positive ways. I think we are, when I talk to my daughters and their friends, I think they are more tolerant, more welcoming of people who are different than them, more sophisticated about different cultures and what's happening around the world.
Stop right there real quick.
But I do
think
Mike. That...
So he's asked, what do you think about this debate? And the first thing he says is, well, the country is changing in fundamental ways. And then he gets into the whole thing of his daughters being more accepting of other people and so on and so forth. But the first thing Obama said, I think he's right. I think the country is changing. And Obama says it's changing in a lot of positive ways. I agree. It is changing in a lot of positive ways. But this goes back to the whole issue of what are we changing to? What are we changing from? But I think, for once, I agree with Obama a little bit. I know I'm not supposed to say that. But I think a lot of the controversy out there, and this happened in the past, it's not new, is because of change. And people fear change. But today I'm going to address this from the millennial generation point of view, because I'm the voice of the millennial generation. I'm going to address it from that point of view. What kind of change are the millennials afraid of, first off? And what kind of change are the millennials hoping for, looking forward to? Because it's the change that is really dividing us. And there are some ways we are changing, which are bad, and some ways we are changing, which are good. And then I'll say how all this relates to Star Wars. But first, I want to get to Obama, and he continues on here.
When you combine that demographic change with all the economic stresses that people have been going through because of the financial crisis, because of technology, because of globalization, the fact that wages and incomes have been flatlining for some time, and that particularly blue-collar men have had a lot of trouble in this new economy where they're no longer getting the same bargain that they got when they were going to a factory and able to support their families on a single paycheck. You combine those things, and it means that there is going to be potential anger, frustration, fear. Some of
stop
it
right
justified,
there.
But just...
First off, man, Obama is just like... You would think with this great speaker that he's supposed to be that he could do a more interesting interview. But man, it's like pulling teeth sometimes listening to him in an interview try to speak and give an answer. It's it's just... Anyways, that's a side note. But something he says is really interesting. He addressed it two ways we're changing. One, we're changing demographically. I agree with that. Obviously, there are a lot more minorities in the country than there used to be. We're not, the Hispanic population's growing, the African American population's growing, and then you still have the white population that's getting smaller. Obviously, there's demographic changes, and that is not it's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. I will say this. The millennial generation doesn't care about that. Our generation is not concerned about the color of your skin, the demographic changes, any of that stuff. There might be some in the older generation that are afraid of that, but in terms of the millennials, that's not what we're concerned about. It's just not. It's just a part. It's happened in this country before, and it's happening again. The second thing Obama addresses is economic change. This is something that is really important to the millennial generation because we have to ask the question, where are we going economically? And it seems like the recession, globalization, the bad economy, all this stuff affects our generation the most right now. Because we saw our parents get full-time jobs, work these jobs, get paid well. We had good childhoods, especially if we grew up in the 90s. And we see all this stuff, and then we're getting to that age where they started, and we don't seem to have the same opportunities that our parents had. And that makes us afraid. And that makes us want change. And the change is happening. So there's the issue right there, one of the issues right there for the millennial generation. Change. What are we changing to? Is this good change? And then Obama will get to the issue of Trump here. Obama continues.
It's misdirected. I think somebody like Mr. Trump's taken advantage of that. That's what he's exploiting during the course of his campaign.
All right, so there you go. He's right. Obama is right. Trump is most definitely taking advantage of that. There is no doubt that Trump is taking advantage of that. The problem is Trump is not addressing what the millennials care about. But there is something Trump is addressing that a lot of people do care about. What is Trump's slogan for his campaign? It's Make America Great Again. We feel like there's so many people in this country that feel like that the change that is happening, we are taking away the things that made us a great country. Obama talked about demographic change. I think a lot of people are concerned about demographic change. Yeah, that's happened in this country before, but we got through it because there was principles put into effect from the beginning that were still foundational in the country, that we felt like no matter of all these changes, we were still a great country and we would still prosper because of those things, because of our culture, because of our economic system, capitalism, because of our Constitution. These fundamental things did not change. People still loved it, despite the demographic changes. The other change, technological change, Obama addressed. The technology, globalization, this has happened in the country before. But we got through it because there were some fundamental things that the country looked towards that were still better. Still made us a great country. The problem with change right now is it's not just demographic change. It's not just economic. It's not just globalization. It's not just technology. All that's going to change and continue to change forever. It's just how the world works, how human society works. But right now, it seems like there are things, it seems like the very fundamentals of America are being under attack. And that is where the fear comes from. That is where the support of the blind support of someone like Trump comes from. Obama doesn't address that. But that is what I think people are afraid of. All of a sudden, you have candidates on the Democrat side that talk about we need to change to socialism. That's totally against what this country stood for. Earlier, actually it was late last week, there was a video that went viral of someone who went on a Yale campus and talked to some Yale students about repealing the First Amendment. And some of the students agreed because we've had this whole idea of tolerance, of safety, that we need to be accepting of everybody. But what happens when you have that, you have no truth. It's one thing to be tolerant in terms that you tolerate other people's views. But it's now turned into we have to accept your beliefs even if we disagree with it. It's just as valid as ours. Well, that's not what this country stood for. We used to value truth. So it seems like, one, our culture is under attack, but it also seems like our Constitution is under attack. Like I said, the First Amendment right there. There's a movement by some in the country, like Obama, who take away certain parts of our Constitution. The First Amendment, I just said. The Second Amendment, our rights to carry a gun. We feel like that's under attack all the time. Our economic system, the different branches of government, our right not to be searched and seized without probable cause and a warrant, just look at the NSA and other things. All of these things are under attack. And that's what's new. And that's what's scary to a lot of people. So there's change for the better. And then there's change for the worse. Now, what does all of this have to do with Star Wars? I told you that... There we go. What can Star Wars teach us about all of this? Yes. Dun, dun, dun. Mike, what is the name of Episode 4? Do you remember the name of Star Wars Episode 4?
Oh, give me a second.
The first one. The first one that ever came out.
The first one that ever came out?
Yes.
The Attack of... No, the first one that came out was...
Do you remember, Tyler?
Oh, my God. I know this.
No?
I know this.
It was a New Hope.
A New Hope. A New Hope. Well, why didn't you say it into the microphone?
Oh, so Tyler did know it. She just
If you don't say it in the mic,
microphone.
it doesn't count.
It was called A New Hope.
A New Hope, that's
so
right.
there was changes
It was in the
going...
long
Yeah.
words.
In the movies, I'm not giving away any spoilers or anything to the new movie. I want you to go see it. But in the movies in general, there was this idea, things were changing for the worse. The fundamentals of the galaxy, the Republic, the rights were taken away by the Empire. And there was also technological changes. Obviously, in Star Wars, technology gets better and better and everything. They're way far advanced, and that's fine. You had total advanced technology. And you had a new hope, new people going to bring rights to the country. But what was it that eventually beat the bad guys? What was it that eventually won the day for those who wanted freedom? What was it, Mike?
The Force. The Force.
The Force. Jedis.
The Jedis.
The Jedi. There's a part in the original movie where Han Solo they're talking about the Jedi and the Force and all that stuff, and he goes, "Oh, that's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo. I don't believe that." Because it was from the past. My point on this is, in the movies, while there is changes going on, there's a new hope, there's new technology, there's all this new stuff going on, it took them to go back to the past, what they could learn from the past, what they could learn from fundamental truths from the past that helped them in the future. They had to go back and learn the ways of their ancestors, of the Force, these fundamental truths that had always existed, of faith in those things. And learning from the past, learning from their history, learning about those fundamental truths is what eventually helped the light side defeat the dark side. My point is this. Change is okay. Change is a great thing. I'm not one of these people who fears new technological change, globalization, all this stuff. But there are fundamental truths from our past, from the foundations of our country, our history of our founding, the principles of our founding, the principles in the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. Christianity, our faith. Those things still need to be kept. We need a foundation because those are the things that are going to save this country in the end and help this country in the end. Just like in Star Wars. Just like in the Force. See? we can learn a lesson from Star Wars. Just like they learned from their ancestors in the past, we can learn from our past, our Constitution, our fundamental principles, our Christianity, our Christian beliefs, and truth. There you go. There you go. No better way to sum. Now everyone gets it because they all love Star Wars. Who doesn't love Star Wars?
Why didn't you just start with this? Why don't we do every show like this?
On Star Wars. You're listening to Beyond Reason Radio here at BeyondReasonRadio.com and the Beyond Reason Radio app.
It would be beyond reason not to listen to Yaffee on your TuneIn Radio app. Download the app today and search Beyond Reason Radio.
Orlando's newest dining sensation, Doc's Streetside Grill, specializes in amazing flavors at prices you'll love. With special events and entertainment ranging from trivia to live bands to poker every evening. There's something for everyone. Doc's has amazing flavors that are always fresh. You know the motto, made today, bought yesterday. Doc's is located across from Orlando Regional Medical Center on South Orange Avenue. Check out DocStreetSideGrill.com for more info. Doc's is your prescription for good times. See you there.
Subscribe to the Beyond Reason podcast today on your Stitcher app and hear the voice of reason anytime.
Hey, this is Mike Yaffee from Buttheadinger Live and Beyond Reason Radio, and I have a question for you. Are you planning on taking any long road trips? Well, I have the perfect tool for you to make that trip go by a little bit faster. What you want to do is download the iHeartRadio app. With the iHeartRadio app, you can find your favorite music stations or create your own custom station. Don't forget to look up your favorite talk show hosts. You can find that on there as well. Make sure to download the app today at iHeartRadio.com.
You can catch the latest Beyond Reason podcast on SoundCloud today. Download the app today and search Beyond Reason Radio.
For the people in our military, it's a time of sacrifice and duty. That's why all 4 military aid societies have joined together to form the Armed Forces Relief Trust to help military families cope with financial and medical emergencies at home. With so many serving overseas, the need is greater than ever. You can learn more and donate at www.afrtrust.org. A message from the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
If you miss any of the show, you can download the Beyond Reason. If you miss any of the show, you can download the Beyond Reason podcast on iTunes. Now, back to Beyond Reason Radio.
Yes, you are listening to the voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason. I am your host, Michael Yaffee, along with executive producer Michael Formisano and Tyler, who is here as well, who apparently knows more about Star Wars than Michael does.
She's showing me up right now.
Yes.
I'm not even going to lie about it.
You haven't even seen all the movies, you said, but you can figure out which
there's one. I know there's one that I didn't see the whole movie. I just haven't figured out which one it is yet. I'm going through.
I need to watch the old ones again.
I want to watch the original one more time, just because I feel like it's my only hope. And then I need to watch.
Here's your only hope.
I do need to watch the one we were just talking about. Which one with the walkers? The
Attack of the Clones?
Yeah, Attack of the Clones. I need to watch that again.
Yeah. Decent movies. But anyways, and in the last segment I talked about how I talked about what we can learn from Star Wars. I mean, what other host out there can tell you what we can learn today from Star Wars? There is no other host like that. It would be beyond reason. This is why you have to listen to me because nobody understands the Force in our world like I do. By the way, I'm Luke Skywalker. Did you all know that?
Use the Force, Yaffee. Use the Force.
I will. But seriously, think about it. I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm fighting for good. Luke was fighting for good.
Much wisdom you have.
Exactly. We both have a lot of wisdom. But Luke was a twin. Had a twin sister.
Yeah, that he...
Yeah, I never did that. I never kissed my twin sister. But I'm a twin. And I have a twin sister.
Oh.
So I'm Luke Skywalker.
I can see the connections here.
Right. And
I never thought
Luke's
about this
like the
before.
calmer, good one who fights for truth. I'm like that. Leia's more outgoing and spunky, I guess is a word for it.
Spunky's a
my
good word.
sister, my twin sister's like that. I'm telling you, I'm Luke Skywalker
I've seen
in today's
video.
world.
I've seen video of yourself. I've never met her, but I believe everything you're telling me.
Yeah. So she's a good person. But I'm just saying we're fighting for the good side of the Force. I'm Luke Skywalker. Telling you all these people. All right. Today, before I get into more of Obama and what he was saying about Trump and so forth, we have some sad news today in politics. I know. Try not to hold back your tears, everybody. Presidential candidate Lindsey Graham has dropped out of the race. Tyler laughed back there. She has no idea who he is, I bet.
That's a he?
Yes, it's a he. His full less than 1% support that he was getting in the polls, less than 1%. That less than 1% is very upset today.
All less of them.
Yeah, because he was their chance for the future of the Republican Party. And he's dropped out. 1%, less than 1% of the country is just going crazy right now. They don't know what to do, Mike.
Let's have a moment of silence for the 1%.
A moment of silence.
That's enough.
Yeah, exactly. So, sad news. Lindsey Graham dropping out of the Republican, race. This music makes me want to cry. It's good.
Where did you find this? I want to put it on my iPod.
Every time you get a call, you hear this.
Every time a candidate drops out.
Yeah, exactly.
Except for Trump.
Okay. I'm wondering what that's going to sound like for you when Trump drops out. Yeah, exactly. I had a feeling. Okay, as the crowd quiets down. Obama continued on in the NPR interview. And he was gone back and he was asked about why maybe a lot of people in this country do not like you. He was asked, why don't they like you, Obama? This is what Obama said, which is just unbelievable, but you have to listen.
If what you're asking me, Steve, is are there certain circumstances around being the first African-American president that might not have confronted a previous president? Absolutely. I
don't know if that's all of it, but
well, I'm sure that's not all of it.
it's not all I'm asking anyway. You can answer it any way you want.
Well, you're asking a pretty broad question. I don't know where to take it. So if you want to narrow it down, I can. If what you're suggesting is that somebody questioning whether I was born in the United States or not, how do I think about that? I would say that that's something that
Spit
is
it out.
actively promoted and may gain traction because of my unique demographic. I don't think that's a big stretch.
So, there we go again. Obama made some decent points before, even though he was wrong. But then asked, why don't people like you, Obama? Because they're all racist. Well, if you're asking if it's because of my skin color, and yeah, so there's definitely a lot of that. It was racism and the way he looks and demographics. That's why they don't like Obama. Because, all other presidents in our history, everybody just loved them. There was never divisions over any other president, just Obama because he was black. I just went over, you need to listen to the first segment of the show, Obama. I just went over why people are frustrated, especially my generation, because we feel like our culture is under attack. Our Constitution is under attack. Our faith is under attack. These fundamental things that made the country great are under attack. So for him to be so arrogant and to say that anybody just doesn't like him because of his skin color, is this where we are? Now, he admits later in another soundbite, which I don't have, but he admits later, he did get elected by a majority of the people, and that's true. So there you go. But just What he is basically saying is half the country is racist. So much for this brilliant uniter that he was supposed to be. It's just so shallow. It's shallow, it's arrogant, it's out of touch, it's stupidity. Think about that. Half this country, your president believes that half of the country is racist. And he's supposed to be the leader of our country. It's just, well, beyond reason, as I like to say on the show a lot, because, you know, it's the name of the show. You're listening to Beyond Reason Radio here at BeyondReasonRadio.com and live on the Beyond Reason Radio app.
Listen to the latest episodes of Beyond Reason. Download the podcast at Spreaker.com.
Orlando's newest dining sensation, Doc's Streetside Grill, specializes in amazing flavors at prices you'll love. With special events and entertainment ranging from trivia to live bands to poker every evening. There's something for everyone. Doc's has amazing flavors that are always fresh. You know the motto, made today, bought yesterday. Doc's is located across from Orlando Regional Medical Center on South Orange Avenue. Check out DocStreetSideGrill.com for more info. Doc's is your prescription for good times. See you there.
Subscribe to the Beyond Reason podcast today on your Stitcher app and hear the voice of reason anytime.
Hey, this is Mike Yaffee from Buttheadinger Live and Beyond Reason Radio, and I have a question for you. Are you planning on taking any long road trips? Well, I have the perfect tool for you to make that trip go by a little bit faster. What you want to do is download the iHeartRadio app. With the iHeartRadio app, you can find your favorite music stations or create your own custom station. Don't forget to look up your favorite talk show hosts. You can find that on there as well. Make sure to download the app today at iHeartRadio.com.
You can catch the latest Beyond Reason podcast on SoundCloud today. Download the app today and search Beyond Reason Radio.
For the people in our military, it's a time of sacrifice and duty. That's why all 4 military aid societies have joined together to form the Armed Forces Relief Trust to help military families cope with financial and medical emergencies at home. With so many serving overseas, the need is greater than ever. You can learn more and donate at www.afrtrust.org. A message from the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
If you like Beyond Reason Radio, well, make sure to show it by liking the Facebook page at facebook.com/Beyond Reason Radio.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm your voice of reason, your voice of truth in a world that is beyond reason. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee. You can follow me on Twitter at Beyond Reason R. Beyond Reason, the letter R. Follow me on Twitter. I'm tweeting stuff all of the time. This is Orlando's smart talk radio, as I'd like to say. And many of you out there are probably wondering why I haven't really talked that much about the Democrat debate that happened on Saturday. Well, because nobody cares. That's why. Literally, I didn't watch it because it was my day off and I had other things I was doing. But I watched highlights and all that stuff. And the day after, I'm looking up the news on it, and the biggest news of this debate, not anything anybody debated or said or anything important, it was the fact that when they got back from one of the commercial breaks, Hillary Clinton wasn't there. She showed up late. So that was a big thing, that they started the debate after a commercial break without her being there, and she got back late, and she's like, it takes me a little longer, because she's a woman in the bathroom. Ah, ha, ha, ha. That was the big story from the debate.
What happens in there?
I don't want to know. This is
just
what,
like it's an alternate universe.
I know. By the way, girls don't. They don't do that. When they go in the bathroom, in my head, they just put on their makeup and that's it.
They
don't do any of the other stuff.
Staring at the wall.
In terms of
happening.
In terms of my other stuff,
it's just couches.
Pretty girls especially, they don't do that thing in my head.
Ruin this for both of you right now. Just
What?
want to ruin it all. Ruin your fantasy.
No.
Turn
Turn off her mic. No. I don't want to know.
Don't ruin poor Yaffee.
Anyways, but I did find one cut from the debate that was very interesting, and it shocked me. I couldn't believe I heard it in a Democrat debate. and it was from O'Malley, who is not getting anywhere in the polls, and this cut is probably why he's not. But he said this about our economic situation in the country.
We're not going to fix what ails our economy. We're not going to make wages go up for everyone by either trying to replace American capitalism with socialism, which, by the way, the rest of the world is moving away from, nor will we fix it by submitting to sort of Wall Street-directed crony capitalism.
Wow. I couldn't believe it. I heard a candidate for president on the Democrat side admit that we're not going to fix the economy by socialism. That's like all I've heard from Democrats for the past few debates, the few years. One of them says he's a socialist. Bernie Sanders says he's a socialist. And yet, we actually had a candidate who admitted that socialism is not going to fix it, but he says also crony capitalism from Wall Street's not going to fix it either. That's what we've been saying and conservatives have been saying forever. He could have said that in a Republican debate, and that would have been fine. Now, this is why he won't win, because the Democrat Party's not going to vote for a guy that admits that. But he's right. There was actually something that made sense in the Democrat debate. If there's anything more beyond reason, then that maybe I haven't seen it. So that was the only part of that debate that I gave a care about. I didn't give a care about anything else. I don't need to hear about how we all need, free tuition, which we're going to get to more of that actually in the next segment. We're going to talk a little bit more about that as well. And we'll play some sound cuts from somebody who made a lot of sense on that issue. I don't need to hear about how the government needs to provide this and needs to bail out that and needs to spend more on that. We need to give away that, yada, yada, yada. We already have Santa Claus. We already have a mythical creature, Santa Claus. I didn't say that.
Whoa.
You
need to cool yourself.
We already have the real Santa Claus in the North Pole.
That's better.
Whoa. By the way, this is totally random ADD moment here, and I don't even have ADD, but I'm having an ADD moment.
I have enough for both of us. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm sure Tyler over there. Tyler's got to keep you in line back there because he's very forgetful.
What?
Okay, that was cliche. That was like too on the money. Comedy's all about timing, Mike.
Comedy's all about timing?
Time, yeah. Anyways, while this show goes into the dumper, it goes totally into the trash can. I don't even remember where I was.
ADD moment.
Yes, mythical creatures. She's going to be mad if she ever hears this. My brother's wife now, she used to actually think that flamingos were mythical creatures. That they were not real, that they were mythical creatures, and she actually saw one, and she was shocked. She went to see one. What? Flamingos are real?
Oh, so they already broke the news.
Yeah, she knows now. But it's been a running joke in the family that she did not know that flamingos were real. So it's the same with Santa. Santa's real. I mean, some people think he's mythical. He's real. Dodged a bullet there. But we already have Santa Claus wanting to give us all, free gifts. We don't need the Democrat Party to give us free gifts. So nobody gives a care about that debate. So, Mike, I'm going to see if you remember something from Friday's show, since you're Mr. Forgetful today. Remember I was talking about the Republican establishment, and I was talking about them passing that huge spending bill that we can't afford.
Yeah, because we're already in debt.
Right. We can't afford it. And then I said they basically did what for Donald Trump?
They gave it to him.
What do you mean?
They gave him the nomination.
Right. They basically are electing Donald Trump.
Yeah, try me.
I said this. The reason I'm pointing out this is I said this on Friday. I said this on Friday's show. I said this last week that by doing this, they're basically giving Trump the nomination because Trump, stands for, I don't think he really stands for, but in a lot of people's minds, he represents being against that kind of thinking in Washington.
Exactly.
The reason I point this out is, once again, I found another conservative, big-time conservative columnist who I think listens to the show.
Good.
Because, once again, I've said something before, and then I see it somewhere else. So apparently all these conservatives, hosts and columnists and everything are listening to my show because they're making points that I basically made.
Good. I'm glad they're listening. Send me money.
Send you money? I like how you said you, like not me, the host of the show.
I'll share.
Oh, thanks. How gracious of you. How gracious of you. Tyler, do something about him. Anyways, this was from Phyllis Schlafly. Almost sounds like Yaffee.
Schlafly.
Yeah, spell that, Mike.
S-H Laughley.
Wrong. Anyways, the article. She's a very noted conservative columnist. She's a conservative speaker. A lot of people know her in conservative circles. Very smart. And she was interviewed by World Net Daily. And there's an article about it here. And she said, Trump is the last hope for America. Now, I would disagree with that. So, Trump is the new hope.
Obi-Wan Kenobi's the last hope. Duh.
Yeah, exactly. True.
She needs to get her facts straight.
Yeah, she thinks Trump is the last hope. We're talking about a new hope, and the new hope is Michael Yaffee, because I'm Luke Skywalker, by the way. Not Donald Trump isn't the hope. So.
He's the dark side.
Exactly. Well, maybe. Or Jar Jar Binks. We haven't decided yet. But Phyllis Schlafly says Donald Trump is the last hope. And this is why. Because of the $1.1 trillion omnibus spending bill, which she called a betrayal. She said, this is a betrayal of the grassroots and of the Republican Party. Schlafly said, we thought we were electing different crowd to stand up for America, and they didn't. We're extremely outraged by what Congress has done. Nancy Pelosi couldn't have engineered it any better. But here's the statement. I think the people are going to react by electing Donald Trump. It's exactly what I said on Friday's show. I'm amazed all the time. They're listening to the show. They need to give me more credit is what needs to happen.
If you're listening to the show and care to advertise on Beyond Reason Radio,
please let us know. Little disclaimer there, because they must be. They're all making the points, but I'm making them first, which is another reason why you should listen to the show. Trump put out a statement on Friday that said, if anyone needs more evidence of why the American people are suffering at the hands of their own government, look no further than the budget deal announced by Speaker Ryan. And Schlafly agrees and says this is going to elect Donald Trump. Now, I'm not sure if she meant the Republican nomination or for the country as a whole. It seems like more of the Republican nomination because the Republicans are the ones who feel betrayed. Exactly what I said. So there you go. More evidence out there that your host, Michael Yaffee, is Luke Skywalker from Star Wars. Luke Skywalker from Star Wars. Thank you, Mike. I'll stay on the ball over there. I did that whole segment for another excuse to listen to the theme music.
Just one more excuse for him to play it.
By the way, go see the movie. J.J. Abrams might be my favorite director of all time.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
He is a three-way tie between him, Christopher Nolan, and Steven Spielberg. So there we go.
Spielberg. Oh,
yeah.
My boy Steve.
Yeah. You're listening to Beyond Reason Radio here, BeyondReasonRadio.com and the Beyond Reason Radio app.
You can catch the latest Beyond Reason podcast on SoundCloud today.
Orlando's newest dining sensation, Doc's Streetside Grill, specializes in amazing flavors at prices you'll love. With special events and entertainment ranging from trivia to live bands to poker every evening, there's something for everyone. Doc's has amazing flavors that are always fresh. You know the motto, made today, bought yesterday. Doc's is located across from Orlando Regional Medical Center on South Orange Avenue. Check out DocStreetSideGrill.com for more info. Doc's is your prescription for good times. See you there.
Subscribe to the Beyond Reason podcast today on your Stitcher app and hear the voice of reason anytime.
Hey, this is Mike Yaffee from Bud Hedinger Live and Beyond Reason Radio, and I have a question for you. Are you planning on taking any long road trips? Well, I have the perfect tool for you to make that trip go by a little bit faster. What you want to do is download the iHeartRadio app. With the iHeartRadio app, you can find your favorite music stations or create your own custom station. Don't forget to look up your favorite talk show hosts. You can find that on there as well. Make sure to download the app today at iHeartRadio.com.
You can catch the latest Beyond Reason podcast on SoundCloud today. Download the app today and search Beyond Reason Radio.
For the people in our military, it's a time of sacrifice and duty. That's why all 4 military aid societies have joined together to form the Armed Forces Relief Trust to help military families cope with financial and medical emergencies at home. With so many serving overseas, the need is greater than ever. You can learn more and donate at www.afrtrust.org. A message from the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Subscribe to the Beyond Reason podcast today on your Stitcher app and hear the voice of reason anytime.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. You are listening to Beyond Reason Radio here at BeyondReasonRadio.com and the Beyond Reason Radio app. We do this show every Monday and Friday at 8 p.m. You can listen live at BeyondReasonRadio.com, like I said, or the Beyond Reason Radio app, like I just said. And you can also get the podcast on iHeartRadio. If you miss any of the show, get the podcast on iHeartRadio and iTunes. So make sure to check that out. Also, make sure to like us on Facebook. Just search Beyond Reason Radio on Facebook. Like the Facebook page. I post all the shows up there as well. Every which way you can get connected to the show. There's plenty of ways to do it. Also, follow us on the TuneIn Radio app. A lot of people like to do that as well. So, I had mentioned earlier that I was going to talk about Bernie Sanders. In the Democrat debate, he did more of like why we need free college tuition in all state schools. And he made a tweet out, and I'm just paraphrasing here, but he said it would be a lot less expensive to pay for their tuition than to pay for them in prison later. I guess applying that if the government doesn't pay for your tuition, you're just going to end up in prison. I guess that's where we are. Anyways, I ended up finding this interview from Neil Cavuto on Fox with John Ratzenberger. Now, if you don't know who he is the post office guy on Cheers. So he is an interview.
That's who that is?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And
cool.
So that's but in terms of the millennial generation, those who did not see Cheers, he is the voice of like at least one character in every Pixar movie.
Yes, definitely.
So he was the voice of who was he in Toy Story?
He was the dinosaur.
Not the
dinosaur. Mr. Potato Head.
Mr. Potato Head,
That's
yes, thank you. Piggy was somebody else.
Yeah.
I got them confused for a sec. Yeah, Mr. Potato Head in Toy Story. He also did a show for a while called Made in America, when he would go to different places, different companies that actually manufacture quality goods in this country to show that a lot of stuff is still made in this country.
They make stuff in America?
Yes.
Wait, are you trying to say South China?
South China?
Wait.
There's so much wrong with what you just said there.
You mean Taiwan? Japan?
Yeah, no, calm
America?
down. Do you actually know, Mike, that we are number 2 in manufacturing in the world?
Good.
Believe it or not.
Well, we're only the biggest freaking country, almost.
China is number 1, but that only happened I think it was 5 or 6 years ago. We still manufacture a lot of stuff in this country.
Good.
Not nearly as much as we
should
used
do more.
to. We definitely should do more. And that's kind
And
of...
I'm not talking assembled in the United States.
I know, right?
I mean made in the United States.
Right. And that's what he did. It was, I think it was on the History Channel or Discovery Channel. One of those, he did a show about that, and it was really interesting. So they brought him on, and they asked John Ratzenberger, post office guy from Cheers. Was it Cliff on Cheers? Was that his name on Cheers? I think it was.
I don't honestly remember.
I might have to look that up. Tyler, can you Google that for me? Post office guy on Cheers. What was his name on that show? Anyways, put Tyler to work over there.
As she should.
Anyways, he was asked about Bernie Sanders' comment on them paying for college tuition. This is what John had to say.
Well, I'd counter Bernie Sanders' quote with one by Spencer Tracy when asked about his profession. He said, in the grand scheme of things, acting is not that big of a deal. Plumbing is. and I subscribe to that because without it, none of us are going to get anything else done. But don't forget, Bernie Sanders comes from a background where he's never really worked.
So I thought that was good. And by the way, it was Cliff. I was right. Cliff Clavin. I need to watch that again on Netflix because it's on Netflix. So, by the way, I love that show. Also love Frasier. Frasier's like one of my favorite sitcoms of all time. Anyways, yes, he was asked about Bernie Sanders comment. He's like, well, I subscribe to that. You know, I subscribe to another quote said by somebody where acting is not really a big deal. Plumbing is. The country couldn't run without plumbing. And his point is that we have sort of downgraded technical jobs in this country, manufacturing jobs in this country. It's more than just an economic thing. It's a social thing. It's a cultural thing where you're looked down upon if you're like a plumber or a mechanic or electrician or something like that. And it really shouldn't be that way because that is the backbone of this country. This country cannot work without those people. But he actually goes on and says why this will become more important in the future. This is John continuing here.
And honored the common sense that you got from working with him. But now we have people that have just gone through college, gotten into politics, and then risen through the ranks until they're in charge. And I don't think they really understand that the infrastructure is not supported or put together by athletes, actors, and politicians. It's people who know how to use tools. Well, it's not just the handy corps.
Stop right there. He's exactly right. And by the way, unfortunately, I'm a bad person to promote this kind of stuff because I'm not the greatest with that kind of stuff. I'm more of a book smart kind of guy. I've gotten better. I'm not totally useless in taking care of myself. I can change a tire, you know.
And now a battery.
And a battery. Thank you, Mike.
Because for those of you who don't know, Mike's battery exploded recently.
Pretty much. It didn't explode, but it might as well have because it was.
And what did I teach you we use to clean batteries?
Diet Coke.
Yes.
Which actually I already
takes the acid off.
My dad told me that before. But what he's saying is, you know, it's the infrastructure of this country is done by people who work with their hands. It's not done by actors or stuff. Those things are important. Obviously, you know, people and my politicians are important. But what he's saying is a lot of politicians are just lawyers and they don't understand how the country works. They don't understand how economics works. They don't understand how business works. So they get up there and they say all this socialist stuff thinking they're so smart, but they're not. They need to talk to the actual people, the working people in this country. But it also goes back to not that other stuff is important. We need teachers, we need philosophers, we need people to write the books and study and all that stuff, but we also need mechanics and electricians and so forth. John continues on here in the soundbite explaining further.
Built civilization. Again, it wasn't the people in the arts or philosophers. It was people who knew how to build and make things. And also the great inventors from Leonardo da Vinci to Ben Franklin, Thomas Edison, Steve Jobs. As young people, they used tools. They didn't get what they became famous for from reading books. They got it from actually using tools and building things.
But we don't
and
put
that's
the
what moved
emphasis on that.
civilization forward.
And I'm just worried when the message they get out of politicians, that this is the end-all and be-all, and anything you might considering short of that is a failure. I don't know if that's the right message.
Oh, no, it's not the right message. It's not the right message at all. As a matter of fact, I talked to a
Stop
group
right
of...
there. I just wanted to make a good point that this guy is exactly right. He says a lot of profound things in this statement. He says, look, if we're trying to... The people who built civilization, they're engineers, for instance. People who built things actually with their hands. And we as a culture and a society with politicians and socially, we're so obsessed with liberal arts degrees in colleges. And these 4 years degrees that are just pieces of paper when you actually haven't learned how to actually make something, it's going to hurt the country in the long run. But as he points out here, I think that's just going to inevitably change. Because, yeah. Anyways, he continues on here.
High school seniors recently, and I said, who's going to college? And everybody raised their hands except this one kid. And I said, what are you going to do? And he said, well, I'm going to go to a technical school. And everybody laughed at him. I said, yeah, that's pretty funny because after I asked him what he was going to study, he said auto mechanics. And they laughed again. And so I said, well, that's funny because at the end of 4 years, you're going to be waiting tables, paying back your student loans. And this kid over here is going to own his own house, and you're going to be paying him to fix your car. And that's the reality. That's just the reality.
He's exactly right. That people are just going to stop going to these 4-year degrees, getting stuff that don't matter. It's going to be the mechanics. It's going to be the electricians. And we have to encourage that.
I saw a student the other, well, not a student anymore, but I saw someone the other day post on Craigslist selling college degree. And his whole description was awesome. He was like, it cost me $30,000, but it can be yours for only $2,000.
That is
why struggle and get C's to get the degree when I did it for you?
There's so much truth to that, though. Because, and the fact is, by Bernie Sanders just saying, oh, we need free college tuition to get these kind of degrees that don't matter, it's not helping. We have to go back to the things that work. And we have to stop, if you want to make money, don't be mad at your kid if he wants to be a plumber. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't be mad at your kid if he wants to be a mechanic. There's nothing wrong with that.
I've never once showed anyone my degree.
Really?
Nobody looks at it. Did you go to college? Yes. Okay. Fair enough.
I'm not saying all those things are bad.
I'm not saying it's bad either. I'm just saying.
I have a radio television degree, and that helped me in the radio business.
I'm not going to prepare for it, but
right.
I really
and it's also what you. Okay. Anyways, I thank you all for joining. This is going to be the last show of the year. But Christmas is coming up this week, and I read some of this on Friday's show, but I'm going to read this again from Philippians. And the reason why I'm going to read it is because it talks about why Christ came, what his birth was all about. Not just the story of the birth, but what actually happened. And it says this: your attitude should be the same as Christ Jesus, and explains about Jesus, who being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be grasped, but made himself nothing, taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. And being found in an appearance as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient to death, even death on a cross. Therefore God exalted him to the highest place and gave him the name that is above every name, that the name of Jesus every name should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. He humbled himself to glorify himself for you. Merry Christmas, everybody. See you guys next year.